Hello, farmers, and welcome to another episode of The Harvest Season. My name is Al.
And my name is Bev.
And we're here today to talk about cottagecore games. Woo! I still called them farmers.
I mean, they're always going to be farmers to us, I feel like. And I also discovered that Goblin Core is actually a real thing, and that is my vibe.
Have we not already had that conversation, Bev? Come on.
I thought it was a joke. I didn't realize it was real, and now I've accepted.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Cool. Well, let's just get straight into it then. Mm-hmm. Today we're going to talk about Coral Island. We finally got here. We're finally doing this episode. Mm-hmm. I feel like we're right at the wrong time to talk about this game, right? Because it's not just in early access, but we're also like not just about to have the 1.0 release. So we're just kind of like in that awkward middle. But the summer update is coming in like 2 weeks, I think, maybe 1 week, something like that. So maybe that's good enough. So we're going to talk about that. Lots of thoughts. Before that, we'll have some news. But first of all, Bev, what have you been up to?
I am starting my best farming life IRL. I recently bought a coop and built it, and we just got 2 little chicks yesterday. So we are chicken owners, and they are adorable, and they're going to be our inside pets. And they're so cute and so cuddly, and one purrs, and one is just they're only 3 days old, I think, and they already have personalities, and I'm really excited about this, and I really hope my cats don't eat them.
That feels like it would be like the kind of bare minimum you'd want.
Right. Like, can we just not cats? Can we not? So the younger one, who has always been inside, he is just very curious and confused by them. He thinks they are toys, and it's like, why can't I play with the toys, I think? It's the older one that we're a little bit more worried about, because she used to be an outside cat.
Right, yeah.
So she could. So we'll just take it slow and see how it goes.
Cat, not eat the chicks. That would be a good plan.
And
cool.
I've been playing Roots of Pacha, and have been obsessed lately, I guess, with just random mobile games. I don't know why, but like Solitaire, and the ads are getting to me, so I'm just constantly downloading the new ones and be like, oh, let me try this and see if I actually like this.
Cool.
How about you?
I have been playing a ridiculous amount of Coral Island, right? Like we decided to do this episode. Well, we've been planning to do this episode for quite a while. Like I think we must have decided this like 6 months ago we decided we were going to do this episode. But we never actually put in the time, mainly because they didn't have like the controller support to start with, and I was not playing this on the PC. You can't make me. So we were waiting on controller support first, and then eventually we got there. I think just like life got in the way. So eventually you were like, oh yeah, I can do this next week. And I was like, okay, all right, let's do this then. And I have put 25 hours into it this week,
oh my goodness,
which is a lot of time. Like I don't normally play 25 hours of a game in a week, but I was like, I need to do this one properly. So that is most of my gaming time. I've been playing a bit of Marvel Snap, and Pokemon Go, the usuals. Nothing too special. Just bits and pieces here and there. Coral Island, that's about it.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think I put up in about the same amount of time in a short while. I've taken a little break from it since Roots of Pacha came out, but yeah, I was the same.
You want to go for that prehistoric farming sim instead?
I was excited about it, and it's not early access, so...
Do you have any first thoughts on it? Obviously, we're not doing a proper episode on that yet, but any first thoughts?
I'm enjoying it a lot. It's you look at these farming sims, and like often you'll have to compare it to Stardew, because often that's where they're based off of.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is like new enough that it's exciting and doesn't quite feel like it's just a Stardew in a different world.
Yeah.
Because it's a whole different mechanics. I thought we would almost get like a completely capitalistic free like game, but there's still a currency. But we're I think the
They just can't
closest we've
do it,
ever
can
got. It's like an exchange system, but still.
Right. Okay. Okay.
But like there's like this. I don't know. I don't want to get too into it. But I've been enjoying it
just
so
to
far.
be fair, currency doesn't equal capitalism, right? Like you can have currency without it being capitalistic.
I guess like there's almost two different types of currency. There's like overall contribution. So there's a contribution, and that's like what you use for purchasing like upgrades and furniture and stuff. And then there's another one that I forget what it's called that just continues to add up, and that's just like the value of your society, I guess.
Oh, okay. GDP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They've implemented GDP in a prehistoric game. That's ridiculous.
It's fun. It's cute. The animals are cute. Mm-hmm.
All right, fair enough. Well, we'll see how that continues. I think we have a hopefully planned episode for that upcoming.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what people think of that. I haven't played it at all. I might at some point, but like. There's enough people playing it that I'm gonna at least wait until the episode comes out to decide. I can actually use my podcast for the way that I want my podcast to be used. I just don't get to use it like that very often, right? Because I'm normally the one playing things and telling people what it's like. But this way I can actually listen to it and decide whether I want to play it or not. Because weirdly, I never backed that one. I don't know why. I've backed almost every single Kickstarter farming game for the past 5 years, and didn't with that one, and I'm not sure why.
I don't know. Maybe just too many games. That's why. I didn't.
Yeah, but I feel like I didn't really feel that there's too many games until the last few months, really, so maybe last year.
Okay.
And this was like quite a few years ago. This game went into Kickstarter. I feel like it was like 3 years ago. Maybe it was a 2021, maybe a Kickstarter or something like that.
I don't know. It's been a while.
Well, yeah, there's too much to remember. Anyway, shall we talk about some news? So, first of all, Research Story. We've got a 0.2 update coming out, and Bev, this has something that I think you might be excited about.
I am very much so, because that means I can not have to play handheld on my Steam Deck.
Controller support. Woo! Realized I hadn't actually said the words.
Mm-hmm. We're very much a fan of controller support on this podcast.
Yeah, I think this was the one of the big things that you had on the podcast episode about this was the lack of controller support causing issues for both of you, I think. Even though Cody doesn't have a Steam Deck, it was still causing some issues. So, good that is coming out. It's out. Yes, it's out now. So you got that there, and we'll see how that goes. It looks like they have proper remapping as well. So if you have any issues with the automatic mapping, you can change what control does what, which is the good way to do it. Not just for you and me, but for accessibility and stuff like that as well is always very important. It has some other things as well, like cloud saves and support for 5120 by 1440 resolution. You gotta love that 32 by 9 resolution. So if you've been wanting to play an 8-bit graphics game on a 32 by 9 screen, you can now do it without the start menu being cut off.
Beautiful.
Absolutely bizarre. I think there was some issues if you have played the game on multiple devices and you hadn't had cloud saves set up. If you've only played on one device, then it's not an issue. But yeah, so if you've played Research Story before this update and you have played it on multiple devices with the same Steam account, you might need to do some jiggery pokery with the cloud saves.
Jiggery pokery?
Is that not a term you would know?
I feel like
that
no.
is so. Actually, googling it comes up with a different definition than what I would assume. So Google says deceitful or dishonest behavior. I would just mean like kind of fiddling around with things. Anyway, so you might need to fiddle around with things in your data structure to get it to work. But they've got on Steam, they have instructions on how to do it if you come up with an issue.
Beautiful.
And that will be linked in the show notes.
It has like UI improvements as well, which I greatly appreciate as well. That they took the time to like put in very small quality of life improvements. Sorry, there you go. I'm done.
No, it's fine. Yeah, there's a bunch of we'll have the full update notes in the show notes. Which a lot of these small changes will probably not be important to anybody who other than people who've played it, but that's a good point. They are improving things, not just adding what they wanted to, but also changing things based on feedback, which is always good. I mean, that's why you do early access. You don't just do early access to get your game out earlier. That's a bad way to do early access. You do early access to get feedback from the community. Our next update is Sundown version 1.2. So this is the one that is from the developers of Sunhaven, and I think it's meant to be a roguelite, or is it just
your favorite?
I don't know. I lose track of these things. Look, there's lots of it looks like it's heavily focused on combat.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
I'm confused. I'm just confused as to the difference between it and Sunhaven. But I've not played either of the games yet.
Yeah, same. Although
because
it's on my wish list.
Sunhaven wouldn't change my Switch code to a Steam code when I got a Steam Deck, so I haven't been able to play it yet.
Oh, sad.
Yeah. Anyway, so the update has a bunch of stuff. I mean, nothing that's like, this is really important. If you've played the game, the link will be in the show notes. If you haven't played the game, you don't care about what there is. Let's be honest. But it's just a generic update with characters and content and stuff like that. So. And the third update news, apparently almost all the news is update news this week, is the Apico 2.0 update. So that was the Butterflies update, which is already on PC, is coming to PlayStation and Switch on the 11th of May.
Very exciting.
Yeah. I still haven't played this update, so I need to do it at some point. But
I haven't gotten to the point where I can actually take advantage of it.
But I just want to go in to meet Cody, right?
I haven't met Cody yet either. Yeah, I want to get to that point.
Because I said this is the Butterflies update, but really it's the Cody update.
Yes.
So if you want the Cody update and you're playing the game on PlayStation or Switch, you can get it in just over a week.
Yes. Excited.
You can get it 2 days before the Eurovision final.
Oh, goodness.
Yes, it's that time. It's that time. And the final piece of news that we've got is about a new game being announced. We don't have a huge amount of information about this game because it's like literally just been talked about. Like we don't have any kind of information on what it's coming out on, blah, blah, blah. But this is called Grave Seasons. It's an upcoming project and it is a farming sim where each time you load a new game, randomly one of the villagers is selected to be a serial killer. So it is a murder mystery farming game. And I love this so much. So much.
Is this sarcasm? I can't tell.
No. Serious, okay. 100%. Okay. I think it's amazing. Well, this is the thing. Like we were talking about, so many games are just like, oh, it's Stardew, but it's this, but it's that, right? Whereas this is like completely well, it's not completely different, but like it actually has a hook that's interesting, not just like oh, it's in space. It's like no, one of the people is out to kill you. So you can keep track of who's been murdered, and I love it. It's great. I want this game.
I want this, but I'm also a little confused by it. Like, is this a roguelite where like what does it mean when you start the game? Because every time you open up the game.
No. So it's like each new save file, right? So I don't think it's meant to be like roguelite. So it's not meant to be like you play for half an hour and figure it out. But I think it's like I think the idea is that you'll probably play this more than once. So it's kind of, I guess I see what you kind of think in terms of like, is it like a roguelike? And I guess the answer is like, well, you could probably play it like that and just play until you either, I don't know whether you can die. You either play till you die or you've figured out who the murderer is and then you can start a new one and start again. Like that would probably be like a unexpected way to play this, but you can probably also just play it like a normal farming sim, and if you figure out who the murderer is, then you just keep going without them. So
okay, yeah, this is good. This is I'm excited for it.
Yeah,
now that I know
too.
Maybe hopefully a little more understanding of what it might actually look like.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is the thing, like, there's so much still unknown. Like, we don't have any idea, like, can you be murdered? Can you keep playing after you've figured out the murderer? Can you accuse somebody and it turns out they're not the murderer? What happens then? You know, like, there's just so many unknowns. What happens if everybody's murdered except you? Like, you just, what do you do about these things? I'm really fascinated to see what they do with it. I love the idea. Yes, more like this.
Yes.
And now
yes,
we just need somebody to make the one where you can break up the couples, because that's the one that
oh my goodness.
I won't shut up about it till somebody does it.
Someone will eventually.
I hope so.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. It's gonna happen.
I just need to get like properly famous, and then I can like pay someone to do it.
Right?
I don't want to make it myself, right? I don't want to have to figure all that out. I just want it to exist. I want to play it. You know. So.
Yeah,
that's
we clearly have a lot of ideas on this podcast, so we need to just partner up with a dev, I guess, and figure out how.
I don't even want to partner up, right? I just want someone to do.
I will partner.
I will. I am a visionary, right? Like I come up with the overall ideas. I'm like, I want this, and then I just make it. I don't really care about the details, right? I'll care about the details when I'm playing the game. Anyway, speaking of caring about the details when we're playing a game, should we talk about Coral Island?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, so just some quick overall information before we get down into the ridiculously deep depths of mechanics, which we always end up doing in this game. We are going to talk about Coral Island. It is currently in early access on Steam and Game Pass. It's also going to come out on Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch at some point. But obviously, the early access don't tend to come to them. It came in early access in October last year. There has been 2 updates so far, and there's a third one just about to come out in, I think it's literally less than 2 weeks.
I'm so excited. Update. In 9 days. I looked. I checked.
Oh, you checked? And then I think, is it 2 more updates that are slated before the final version?
I think so. I can't really scroll on like the screen where it has like the roadmap, so I'm not entirely sure.
And they, as far as I can see, they are currently they've said that the full release is probably coming out this year, but who knows?
Who knows? I'm excited. I hope so.
Let me just double check the roadmap. There's more than just 2 updates. So there's the summer update is just about to come out, and then there's the Merfolk update, the fall update, the winter update, the end game update, the marriage and children update, and then the 1.0 update.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, this game isn't releasing finally this year. Like it will be lucky if it's next year.
I'm fine with that, honestly.
Oh, sure. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying like it's just one of these classic things, right? Where they're like, oh yeah, it'll take us about a year to get all of the other updates. And you're like, no chance. No chance, mate. Like every time I see an early access, and one of the things you have to answer when you're doing early access is how long do you expect this to be an early access? And they're always question. Like 6 months or a year, and you're like, come on, at least give something realistic, right? Like nobody is ever going to complain that you do it too early, right? Say 3 years. It'll take me 3 years because like it could take you 3 years, and if it doesn't, everyone's going to be like, wow, that's amazing, they did it in less time than they said they would.
True. Yeah, more people should take that route, like overshoot instead of undershoot.
Absolutely, more people should listen to what I say.
Oh my goodness,
I agree. Cool. So I guess just overall, this is very much a Stardew-like. We'll have debates, I'm sure, later on about whether it does the thing that we want, which is being different, or whether it's just the same but in a different skin on a different place, etc., etc. But it's very definitely Stardew like. That is absolutely what it's taken a lot of stuff from. There's a lot of stuff in this that that was Stardew, right? Like, that's what Stardew 100%. Did, and therefore that's what they do. They have done a bunch of things on top of that. I guess the biggest thing is it is set on an island. I think it's meant to be a tropical island.
Yeah. It's definitely tropical.
I think that's the only place that coral actually grows, right? In the tropics. And the kind of, we'll get to the specifics of the mechanics, but there's you can go underwater is basically the big functional change. Obviously, like story wise and stuff, it's kind of built more around. It feels like it's meant to be Pacific Island type thing, but it's hard to like. It's obviously not like setting itself in a specific place, but that's kind of the vibes I get from.
Oh, I think it definitely is set in a specific place, because they reference Tokyo all the time. So I think it's like maybe like an island off of Japan, is where I'm thinking it would like geographically land.
I mean, I think that would make sense because I need to double check, but I feel like the company is based in something like as Indonesia. I was thinking the Philippines, but Indonesia, yeah. So that would kind of make, it's obviously not this exactly there, but like that's the kind of vague area,
big enough,
where we're talking. So yeah, kind of West Pacific.
And I feel like I would also describe this game as like Stardew Valley meets Animal Crossing, more so in the environment.
Yeah, that's a very good point. There is a lot that it takes from Animal Crossing as well. I guess it's really easy to merge those two together.
Yeah.
So like if we talk, for example, about like the museum is very much Animal Crossing. Whereas, Stardew's, if you actually think about it, Stardew's museum is very simple, right? It's just the artifacts. It doesn't have anything else. Whereas this is very much Animal Crossing inspired museum.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah, that's a good point. And there's some other things and stuff, obviously, like it's island based, so you could argue that, blah 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 blah. Yeah, no, that's fair. Is that a good introduction? Have I missed anything introduction wise that we want to talk about?
I feel like it's good. It's good. I mean, other than like the art style being 100% different than Stardew. Like,
yeah, that's fair. So let's go into that first then. Shall we talk about the look and feel, the art style, the music, that sort of stuff? What are your thoughts?
I absolutely love it. I think it's so pretty. Everything is just, I don't know, like the menu screen is just so very pleasing to look at, like the font choices, the NPC art, the animals. Like I don't have any complaints like about the art style. I absolutely love it. I think it's gorgeous and beautiful.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. It's very good looking art. They've clearly put a lot of time and effort into, as you talk about the portraits, the character portraits are really good. I will say the 3D models of the characters a little bit weird. The kind of the way that they stand and walk is a little bit awkward. But yeah, like the character portraits in particular are lovely. The most of the non-people models are great. I don't know. It might be deliberate, the kind of weirdness of how they stand and walk.
So. Like a little bit of a swagger, or like an attempt at swagger.
it just feels weird to me, and maybe that's just a personal preference thing. I'm not sure, but it doesn't kill me. Like it doesn't cause me great issues, right? Like most of the time, I'm not really seeing them anyway. Because I'm gonna be honest, I just basically completely ignored the people in this game. Other than like story wise and the giants, like everyone else, I just completely ignored because there's only so much you can do.
Yes,
in these games.
You have to focus your time on things.
And
You
so
have
I
to choose.
ignored relationships. Like, I have no relationships with anybody other than the giants.
I've also taken the same route. So yeah,
Okay,
I'm
so
not dating
we'll
anyone
probably
yet.
talk about the people in another episode. I suspect we'll end up doing like Ooblets, where we do a 1.0 episode as well, but we'll see. Maybe we can talk about people in that episode. I think a lot of it is like, there's obviously a lot of the relationship based stuff that isn't fully implemented as well, so it kind of feels like a sensible one to kind of skip out at this point. But I know some people really love the relationship stuff. I don't hate it in all games, but like, I'm fine with just ignoring that for something. So yeah, okay, cool. So music. What about music though?
I feel like I don't hear the music as much. Even with like having it like all the way up, maybe I just need to like go into the settings and fix that. So I can't really comment on the music because I haven't really like noticed anything. How about you?
I've liked the music. I will say it's the one place I've noticed some performance issues. Okay. So I think if we talk about this game in general, like a lot of early access games go early access to like bug fix. This has done the thing that I like when they do early access, that Ooblets did as well, which was, this is like a fully functional part of a game. And the bits that we don't have are bits that you can't do. It's not we've implemented everything, but it's all slightly buggy and we'll fix it at some point. The core loop is there and so solid. The bits that we've implemented in terms of like story and all of these things, they are there and they are good, and you will not complain about them. There are going to be missing bits, but that's mainly content and some features. It's not really bugs. So I've found it to be pretty stable. But yeah, the one issue I've found is that sometimes the music can be a bit clippy. Like it'll stutter a bit. Hopefully that will be fixed at some point. But that's the only thing I've really noticed performance wise or kind of bugginess wise. There's been a couple of bits here and there, but like, if this was the quality of a released game, I think it was perfectly acceptable. Like, the bugs are not huge bugs. It's like occasionally, like, I mean, I've played a year in this game, and
oh wow,
3 times I have tried to go out of my house and it's just put me back in the house 3 times in a year, right? So like that's the sort of level of bug we're talking about. It's not a huge amount. It's something that hopefully will be fixed, but it's not like, oh, I can't believe they've put this out sort of thing,
I feel like the only bugs I've experienced thus far have been like starting the day. So I like every time I get to the TV, it might like restart or it will crash and then I'll have to restart the day. But
I had that twice as well when checking the weather. It crashes when checking the weather. Yeah. I forgot about them. That's literally happened twice in my year as well. And yeah, you check the weather every single morning. So that's not a high number of times.
It was happening pretty consistently at some point for me, like almost every day.
Interesting.
But again, like it's such a low complaint because it's the start of the day.
It's literally the first thing you do in the day, yeah. So it's like the annoyance is, I have to load the game up again, yeah.
Which I don't care as much.
No.
So I'm just glad that I haven't lost like a whole day's worth of like process that
That's
way.
true. I haven't had a single crash other than that. So I've not had any time where I've had to redo something in a day. I thought I had one today, but I didn't. It was just being a bit slow waking up. So that's good, because I've had them in Stardew. I've had Stardew crashes, So like, it's pretty impressive that they had not a single one where I've had to redo a thing in a day other than check the weather, which is not difficult. So that's pretty impressive. Okay, cool. So that's kind of just generic look and feel and sound and how we feel about it as a whole in terms of quality. Let's talk about some mechanics. So I guess there's a bunch of things that are kind of standard mechanics that we can quickly chat through, but I don't think we'll have a huge amount to talk about. So like the farming, it is standard farming sim farming, right? There is nothing special here. There's nothing special, and there's nothing that really drives me insane. There's a few kind of like, whatever, where like, as far as I can see, there's no seed maker in the game yet.
Yeah.
or it is in the game, you just can't get it. It looks like they had it available and then they put a level cap on, so now you can't get it. And it's stuff like that that's just a bit annoying. And presumably at some point there will be a seed maker that you can get. And, you know, there's just a bunch of kind of small things like that are just like the scythe you can't upgrade for some reason.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Very odd, especially as it's such. We'll come back to that when we talk about diving. But it's like such a fundamental tool that you can't upgrade, which is bizarre to me.
Or equipped stuff to it, I guess. Like the whatever magic upgrades.
You can do that.
Oh,
it's just because you can't upgrade it, you can only do one.
Okay, maybe I did do that. I just forgot. Okay.
Yeah, because I checked that yesterday. I did one.
Okay, never mind. I retract that statement.
You can add the enchantments, I think it's called.
Okay.
But yeah, you can't upgrade it, so you can only do one enchantment, which is a bit annoying. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything really interesting to say about the farming specifically.
I mean, I think that the farming is interesting in that there's a different the different materials needed for crafting the sprinklers, which I thought was an interesting choice.
Yeah, I'm annoyed about that.
I'm not, because
Let me tell you why I'm annoyed about that. Okay, so I'm not against them doing different things, right? And that's fine. But my annoyance with it is it's basically, as far as I can tell, it's actually impossible without spending an insane amount of money to do that, because you can't actually get the gold kelp in the game yet. So you can buy it, but it's like 1,500 per gold kelp, and you need 5 gold kelp and 5 silver kelp to build a decent sprinkler. There's a 3x3 sprinkler, but that's basically useless, right? So that it's just a bit annoying that something so kind of fundamental to me, like a sprinkler, is so difficult to do. And even the 3x3, you have to progress the diving so far to get to that point where you can actually do that. You know, it seems like it's so hard to do. It feels like it's almost like a level higher than it should be, right? Like the 5x5 should be the one that has silver kelp. The 3x3 should have bronze kelp, and then there should be another one on top that does the gold kelp. That it kind of feels like they're missing a sprinkler there.
I don't know. I kind of disagree, because I almost feel like I got it in a normal progression. I feel like as I would have in Stardew had I just been upgrading them via, you know, bars, iron bars or gold bars or what have you. So I feel like the progression made sense in terms of like the different obstacles they put in place to slow you down with that development. Like I think I got to summer and I was able to upgrade them to the 8x8, and that worked fine for me. So I would kind of, I think, disagree there.
You mean the 5x5 ones?
Yes. Wait.
So how did you get the gold kelp?
Oh no! I like the 8 tiles, but the 3x3.
Yeah, the 3x3.
Yeah,
the 3x3 is the basic one. And they're reasonably easy to get. It doesn't take a ridiculous amount of time to get to them. But like I'm in the second year and I have not even had a single thing of gold kelp.
I feel like my current complaint is not really about like the being able to access the highest gold kelp one. It's the fact that Sprinkler 1 and Sprinkler 2 are essentially the same thing. Like they both do 3x3 tiles, like eight around, and there's no.
I'm gonna need to check this out. Because I thought I was just aware of 2 sprinklers, and I thought it was 3x3 and 5x5. Yeah, it is. Sprinkler 2 is 5x5, not 3x3.
I don't know. I feel like that's okay. Well, I can't.
Well, that's what it says in game.
That's weird. Okay, because I've seen Sprinkler.
Oh wait, no,
3.
it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It says in game 8.
Yeah, in game it says 8. So is it just
the wiki says 24.
Oh, is it just mislabeled, and I never tried building a higher one for that reason?
I think it might be. I suspect it's an incorrect label.
Oh my goodness!
It's also incorrect what it says, because it says a radius of 8 tiles. It doesn't mean a radius of 8 tiles.
No,
that would be what? So 8 and 8. That'd be 16 by 16, which would be incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's unclear exactly what it does then, because I haven't been able to craft one. because you need 5 gold kelp for it, and I haven't even had one. You can buy the gold kelp, but if you were to buy that 5 gold kelp, it would be 7,500, which, I mean, I have the money for now, but like, I would just be buying, if I, like, I'm currently at the point where I have, I've got 22 by 22 farming plots, right? So to try and cover that I would need 20 sprinklers to cover everything with sprinklers. 20 of those 5x5 ones. And so that would give us 100 gold kelp, which would cost 150,000, which obviously I don't have the money for.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's going to take that's like end game stuff, I feel like.
So I think that's my point. I think that's my point is the Sprinkler 2 feels so difficult to get to that, and I don't even know if it's possible because I have not seen. Have you seen any gold kelp in the game?
I haven't, but
in the
like
lab?
part of so I think the issue with the gold kelp is that the area that it's located is not accessible right now.
So well, like that's the question. I don't know whether that's the case or not. So part of the problem of this game is that it tells you about things that don't exist in the game yet, and so it's hard to know whether something is possible in the game and it's just telling you about it, or not possible in the game.
I promise you that it will be, I think, possible because I've like looked at the map and I have like mapped it out in that I've tried to access every single part of the map, and I physically cannot access like the northeastern corner. Like there's just barriers there that
the underwater area.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it will be there. It's just I think it's a content that they need a update. Okay. It's a content update that they haven't gotten around to yet.
I think this is probably my only thing that I think they needed to do better as an early access is do better with telling us what is available and not. Because it's a bit frustrating to get to the point where you're like, okay, well, I'm aiming towards this. Okay, I've got to the area where I've got the silver kelp. That's great. I shouldn't be too much longer till I get to the gold kelp. And then you just never get it. And you don't know whether you've done something wrong or whether it's not available. And it's not a problem that these things aren't available, but I think they need to make it clear. Like, first of all, why give you the why have they given the crafting blueprint to us? Like, why is it possible to get a crafting blueprint that you can't do? That's the weird thing to me. Like, I have the crafting thing for the second sprinkler, but I can't get the kelp to do that. That feels like a kind of mismatch there in expectations of the game.
I feel like it could be a little bit of wanting to appease people who want a more efficient way to farm, but are willing to grind for that method. And
but you can't grind. Oh, you mean because you can buy the gold kelp?
Yeah, and also allowing you to. Oh, go ahead.
There needs to be a way in game that they would tell you that that's the case.
I mean, they do that with other things. Like, they've told you with other things, like, this is not accessible yet. Like, there's a couple events, like scenes or cutscenes. So they, in a way, they just failed to tell you that the gold kelp is not accessible other than buying it.
Yeah, it's not just that. So there's also the osmium ore is not possible to get in game either, and you can still get things, crafting resources, blueprints for that would, and like you can assume that it's not available because you can't get to the final bit of the mine, but like that's an assumption. That's not a definite, right? So there's a few other things as well that's like that, where it gives you something that you could craft or buy that requires something that you can't get in the game, and there's no indication that you can get that in the game. And with the osmium ore, you can't even buy that one.
Maybe in an update they'll update what you can again. Because I think they tried. They made the attempt at telling you, like, this is physically not available in the game right now, or, you know, virtually, whatever you want to call it. But then they just, I think, miss these portions and then forgot to add them in.
They implemented it for events and areas. They didn't implement it for items.
Okay.
That's like, I've not been aware of any item where it is shown on screen, you can't get it, and they tell you that you can't get it, right? You always just have to assume that for that. And like, you know, for example, like, so we have there's the temple, the lake temple, which is your, here we go, we're always comparing that to Stardew. It's your community center, right? Like you go there and you give offerings of certain things. So first of all, there's no way to go onto the things to actually know what they're called, right? So like if I'm looking at a list of things in a bundle, there's no way to know what's in that bundle except by just guessing based on the image, which in some is obvious, right? Like, oh, that's clearly a daisy, right? You know that's a daisy because that's a daisy. You can buy daisy seeds. That's easy. That one's clearly wheat. But like Brussels sprouts, did you know what the Brussels sprouts was before you found a Brussels sprout?
Nope.
It is not obvious.
Yeah, that's a little frustrating. And I think I had to Google it, some of them to
that's
verify.
One. And secondly, there are a bunch of bundles that you can't complete yet because there are things you can't get in the game. And that isn't a problem, but again, there's no indication that you can't do them, you know. And I guess the problem is that knowing that information changes how you play the game. So there's a bunch of stuff where you're like, I would probably spend less time on this if I knew I couldn't do it. And spend more time on something else that I knew I could do at that point. That's just, it's a hard thing to do with early access where you're going, because when you're I think this is the difference, right? With Stardew, the first version was like a fully released game with all the content that there was meant to be in that game. And the updates added more content, but it wasn't like core stuff that was in the game, right? Whereas here is like, they've clearly decided this is the point where we're going to have the game, right? And we're not going to go like, oh, this content isn't available yet, right? And other stuff that they might add in the future, because they've got at least one update detailed for after the 1.0 release, which is the multiplayer one. So presumably they're going to continue working on the game after release, but like those will be extra things afterwards, right? Like the extra stuff that was added on top of Stardew was very definitely like just more stuff. It was never clearly meant to be the core game, whereas this is like, there's a mine you can't go in, and there's areas in the ocean that you can't get to, and there's items that are shown in the game that you can't get. And that's not a problem. It's always it's going to be difficult. Like, I'm not saying it's an easy problem to solve, but I think that when you're saying to people, we are releasing this in early access, it's not just, hey, buy our game, you get what you get, we don't care, right? Like, that's not what they're doing. It's, please, will you play this game to test it? Please, will you keep going with us? Please, will you work with us to get to this point? And I think there's a different expectation in what people will want. We don't expect it to be complete, but we expect the communication there. That's, I think, the point. And you're right, they have put in the effort to do that for areas, and that's good. Although there are a couple which is less clear, and it's more, they just say WIP, work in progress, and you're like, well, does that mean I can do it, or does that mean I can't do it? And it's not quite clear. But that's fine. At least you know it's not going to be complete, right? You don't know to what point it's going to be complete, but you know it's not going to be complete. But yeah, it's the showing you something, giving you the ability to craft something without giving you the thing to do it. And yeah, you're right. The sprinkler is less of an issue because you can buy the kelp. But it would it be nice to know that I couldn't get the kelp normally.
Without having to like navigate the full map and and spend like several days.
Maybe I would have put less. Maybe I would have put less effort into the ocean at this point. You know, especially until we can upgrade the scythe.
I enjoyed it. I feel like it ties to like a lot of the story, I guess, and just the feel good like environmentalism like that's in this island.
Absolutely.
So I got
you get to a point. You get to a point where the trash is more and more difficult to get rid of.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's the point where I'm like, if I knew that you, one, couldn't upgrade the scythe because I hadn't actually realized that at that point, and two, there was no gold kelp, right? I was just trying to go as far as I could to get the gold kelp. I wanted that gold kelp. If I knew that those two things were true, maybe I would have stopped when it started getting more difficult. But obviously I didn't know that, so I just kept going.
I didn't. I didn't mind having to go back down there just because I needed it for compost. Like I wasn't getting enough trash unless I
Yeah.
started diving. So I myself did not mind that barrier, I guess. And at a certain point, like it doesn't quite matter. I haven't done a full year yet. I'm at the end of fall, but I feel like at this point, like I don't really care about energy. So even if it takes me 2 or 3 like hits, I can just eat something, and I'm completely fine.
Yeah,
with that.
that's fair. That's fair. But it's more the wanting to know that information, you know, like, and if I'd waited to 1.0 to play this game, I would have played it in the same way I'm playing it now, right? Because I would be like, the way that I play these games is like grind to get the automation and then do what I want to do after that. The problem was I was grinding to get the automation that didn't exist.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah, so I guess that would be my main complaint about the farming is that second. To me it just feels, and yeah, sure, people can disagree, but to me it feels like it's one step more difficult than it should be to get each of those sprinklers. But it is what it is. I will say, so let's talk about the mining and diving together, because clearly diving is just mining. right like functionally they are the same thing, and you get stuff from the diving that is replacing what you might get from mining in another farming game.
Without the combat.
Without the combat, that's fair. That is absolutely fair. But I think they feel like they fit together. So mining, pretty much exactly the same as mining in a normal in Stardew, right? It's basically the same. The only difference is the mine is split up into 4 different mines. So instead of going from level 0 to level 40, you're going 0 to 40 4 times. And the interesting thing, and I think this is both good and bad, is that each mine has a specific type of ore. So the first one has copper, the second has silver, the third has gold, and presumably the fourth will have osmium, but we don't have access to that yet. This is good because it means you can focus on a specific ore if you want to, but it's also bad in that if you need multiple ores, you have to go into multiple mines to get it, right? Whereas what would be nice in Stardew is, like, I can't remember the exact levels, but let's say it's like 10 to 20 is copper and 20 to 30 is silver. You could go down to 15 and then just go for 10 levels and get a bunch of copper and a bunch of silver. Whereas here you have to go into one and go down a bunch of levels to get a bunch of copper, and then go and get up and into the next mine and go down and get a bunch of silver. You know, that it's not, you're never going to get a perfect solution here. I like what they're doing. It's interesting. There is a bunch of story to the mines. Which I don't think we want to. I don't think we want to go into too much, but I will say that story is quite nice. I don't know why the characters are called giants. They're smaller than me. But it's a fun little story. I look forward to seeing how that completes. I've done all of the stuff that's available so far. I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
Completely agree. Like, I don't know. Like, I could see them maybe having like an additional mine outside of like the mines, because it looks like there might be a mine down in the ocean.
Yes, I noticed that.
So
it's got the same door on it.
It might be like a skull, like cavern type thing, where eventually you will get to a place that's like over leveled and much more difficult, but you'll be able to get all types of ore like much easily there if you just wanted to gain a little bit of everything. But
as long as I don't have to be floating in the water for that, that's fine. Not a fan of that physics.
And I feel like I'm just gonna like outright say, like, I prefer this game over Stardew, even as it is.
Tell me.
Just because I feel like they took, I don't know, like I love all the story. I love the different mines. I think it's almost more realistic. Like, you're gonna have different pathways into like a real mine, and like the ore you're looking for more likely is going to be not by level but by area. And the fact that they're tied to like a specific story element as well is just very cute, and I appreciate that. So I don't know.
Well, I love my realism in my games. No, I don't. I don't really care about that. I think it's I like how they did something different, right? Like it's hard to do these things differently, as we're talking about. It's not like fundamentally different, right? It doesn't really make a difference. But the story tied to it is quite fun. I will say
it's different enough that I'm happy with it, and I don't feel like it's like a cheap knockoff. Like they took the time and energy to like think about it. So
but mechanically it's identical.
Mechanically it's like identical. I will say I think the combat is not
terrible.
It's kind of terrible. Yeah. I'm like in Stardew I feared for my life. In several areas, and then this area I'm like the monsters, like I don't know if they're just gonna add more monsters later, but they didn't really change throughout the mines.
No.
And
there was, I think, maybe one monster that was in the gold one that wasn't in the previous two. Yeah, and that was about it.
And I never worried about dying.
I never once died. I never once got half close to dying. I believe the summer update is bringing a combat change, like a change to how the combat works.
Ooh, okay.
Or maybe it's the summer update, or maybe it's the next one. I'm not sure. I saw a screenshot of it on Twitter, literally today. So I'm not sure the details of that, but they've just said there is a combat change coming. So hopefully that will change things. Hopefully you can actually get a second weapon rather than just the blunt sword
and armor that they keep talking about in the game.
yeah clearly that's like they put in the bare minimum of the combat, and that's fine, right? It does the job. It'll be fun to go back into
really.
It'll be fun to go back in the mines in a year's time and be utterly terrified of the new enemies, because we go straight into the osmium mine and not upgrade any of your weapons, and you're dead within 5 minutes,
destroyed.
Right? Like,
I would enjoy that. That would be fun. That would be funny.
yeah. I think it would be funny. But yeah, I will say there's a couple of things. Yeah, the combat's not great. So first of all, so you have a dash in the game, which is fun.
Ooh, I love the dash so much.
You can't swing your sword and then dash. Right? No. There's a timeout on that. And it is very annoying because it makes it really difficult to actually dodge. The timing has to be on point to dodge. And the problem is that I never feel like... So when in games with combat, what you really want is to feel like when you've been hit, it's your fault. Yeah. And so much of this game, I feel like when I've hit, that it's because the controls aren't good enough for that.
Yeah.
And honestly, as you say, it's not a problem because the combat isn't difficult. None of the enemies are difficult, but it still feels a bit meh.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. And like, it's so easy to just walk away from like the slime. Yes. The slime goo, I like do a couple hits, walk away, and then I kill it, and that's it. It's done.
Yeah.
Like there's no point in dashing because of that time.
Yes.
Whatever that. Yeah. So it's just easier just to walk away, which is
it feels counterintuitive.
Yeah. Like I use the dash not for actual combat, but just for walking around the town.
Yeah, I'm just constantly dashing around. Yeah, I look like I'm a speedrunner trying to get through it as quickly as possible. Like there's a frame glitch or something like that.
I also think it's funny that whenever you're like, sometimes when you have your sword out, like when you're walking around the town, people actually comment on it.
Oh, I hadn't noticed that.
Put your sword away. Yeah. Like, what are you doing?
It is funny because if you have it hovered over in the tool belt, for some reason the sword and the sword alone, you'll see your character holding it even when you're not using it, and it'll be fun. You'll just be running around, like dashing around the town, holding this sword. It just looks so funny.
Yeah, so I appreciate that they like took like almost, I guess, like the like meme of like hitting people with your like sword and stuff in Stardew and like made a thing about it, like actually implemented it into the game where people are like offended a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so then diving. So this is I guess the biggest difference between this and other farming games. Oh.
Sorry, I just remembered bugs are also a mechanic in here that is different from Stardew.
Yeah, okay, sure. We'll talk about... So there's fishing, which is just like Stardew, but slightly less annoying minigame. Oh, okay, right. Here's a good description of this fishing minigame. It's like a cross between Stardew and Spiritfarer.
Yes. I will say my one gripe about the fishing is that it doesn't stop the time like it does in Stardew.
I hadn't noticed that.
So I'm like, I can catch so much more fish in Stardew, and now time just runs away from me.
Yeah. We're gonna have to have this fishing minigame ranking episode at some point, because I feel like I need to have more of an opinion on fishing minigames. They're all bad. It's fine, right? Like, I don't hate it, but I don't love it. It is what it is. There's bug catching. It's Animal Crossing bug catching, right?
Yep.
That's it. But it's less good.
It's whatever. I don't really care.
The number of times that I've like crept up to a thing and it's still noticed me and run away. Very annoying.
I think that just means you need a better net, and that's just gonna be an upgrade thing. Like those butterflies that will. But
it's before I even get to it. That's the thing. Like, how does upgrading my net mean it doesn't notice me? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, there's one upgrade that makes you quieter. I don't quite understand the upgrade for the net.
Lore-wise, I don't understand how that makes any sense. How does the net change how loud I am?
No, there's
when I'm just walking
in the tree. So that's another thing too. When you level up your skills, there's a skill tree.
I'm sorry. Wait. What do you? Oh, you mean in like? It's not actually a skill tree. This is where I got confused. It's not. It's just some skills you upgrade.
But you can choose which one you want to upgrade.
You can choose, but it's not a tree, right? Because tree implies that you can only do ones after other ones. Okay, so there's one that I see what you mean. So there's a bug catching one that makes you quieter. Yeah. Okay, light feet. I see. Okay,
so that
10% less aware.
I did notice an improvement in my bug catching after that. Some of the butterflies I still can't do, but I'm assuming, I don't know, at some point there'll be some sort of upgrade, whether it's like a sound dampening bug net.
Yeah, bizarre.
I don't know.
I haven't really done the bug catching as much as I probably should, which is probably the reason that my museum's so low in stuff. But whatever. I don't find that fun. I found the Animal Crossing one fine. I didn't actively enjoy it, but it was fine.
Yeah.
This one I just feel like it's not done very nicely. Like the most of the bugs I don't even notice until they're running away from me. Because I'm not walking around slowly around the island, right? You're running around, and then if you're not paying the closest attention, you don't notice that they're aware of you, and that's it, they're gone. So like I spend most of my time going, oh, I could have caught that if I'd noticed it before. And half of the time I miss them anyway because the aiming is really bad. It's 2D aiming.
Yeah, it's not great.
It's 2D aiming, but you've not got a good field of view, so you can't tell whether you're going to catch it 3D wise, right? It's 2D aiming, but you still have to catch it properly in 3D, right? If it flies up too high, you don't catch it.
Yeah.
But there's no way to know other than by looking, and the field of vision isn't very good for that.
Yeah. The bug will highlight when it's in your catching range. So that's, I suppose.
Oh, will it? I hadn't noticed that.
It turns
that's
like
obviously not very
light
obvious.
Green or something. I don't know.
Is that the actual bug, or is it the little catching triangle?
The bug itself will change. So maybe I don't know. They could probably do a better I wonder if that's affected by the color blindness feature that they have. But maybe that's something that needs to be more apparent. Like, make it a brighter color.
I hadn't noticed that at all.
Don't make it the same color as the radius, or a slightly different variation of the color of the radius.
Or the grass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. I hadn't noticed that. But yeah, so I'm just not finding it fun, so I'm not really doing it.
That's valid. That's fine. I think it's cute that they have the option to catch little critters on the floor, though.
Yeah, it's fine. That's just another thing that they clearly have been inspired by Animal Crossing rather than Stardew there, which is fair. And I guess then the museum, as we discussed, is kind of pretty much just the Animal Crossing museum, but a slightly different design.
Slightly different.
I haven't upgraded it. Does it change? Because I know that he's trying to upgrade it, and once you get to a certain point, it'll upgrade. Does it change fundamentally when you upgrade it, or is that not implemented?
It expands significantly.
Okay.
So you have like whole wings, like pretty much you do in Animal Crossing.
Right. Okay.
So like I think I would still say I prefer the museum in Animal Crossing. I think it's just more dynamic and interactive, maybe. Like you can individually see the critters you caught, whereas like in this updated one with Pixarter.
I think that's a fundamental difference between how the like the field of view and the graphics. Like it's not, you just can't notice them as well because it's still that like 45-degree angle zoomed out quite a bit sort of view, which is fine, but the problem is that when you can't notice detail as much, right? You just fundamentally can't. Whereas Animal Crossing is much more further down and zoomed in, you're noticing the detail much more. Whereas you go into the museum and you're like, oh yeah, there's a bunch of stuff here. What stuff? I don't know, but there's a bunch of stuff.
And maybe that's something they'll work on with like future updates to actually like individually like characterize each of the different bugs in there. Like, I could see that being a very, very low like priority thing for them to update. I don't quite as much care. I don't
really care either. Like, because I've never been a massive fan of these sorts of museums anyway. Like, I don't really care. I'm not actually building it, right? Like, I'm just adding stuff. It doesn't really feel like it's mine.
It does feel, I don't know, it's different than like the Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley one, in that it feels much more involved. Like your contribution to this museum, because of the fact that you started a Kickstarter campaign to increase it, to, expand it to bring in more, artifacts and pieces in there. So I don't know. I like that it felt more inclusive.
Kind of, but it's not really my campaign though, right? Like, it's the museum guy's campaign, right? I'm just helping.
Yeah, but he wouldn't be able to do it without you. And
yeah, but of course he wouldn't be able to do it. I'm the only person donating stuff to it. My point is just like, I never feel connected to these because they're not my thing. They're someone else's thing. I am just contributing to them. And like, that's not a problem. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying they shouldn't do it like that. I'm just saying I therefore don't care about it. Like, I struggle to engage with it because it's not something I'm doing. It's something that is being done to me, And like, I am contributing, but I'm contributing because that you have to do that to get through the game. I'm not contributing because I actively want to, Whereas building up your farm, you can build up your farm however you want. It doesn't really matter,
I was fine with it because like I knew it was kind of like being a team member of a project at work, right? Like, I understand my contribution of it. I was recognized in the award ceremony at the time, and I don't necessarily have to be the owner of it to still feel appreciated and involved. But that's just me personally, I guess.
And that's the fact. I'm not saying that that's a problem, right? Like, I'm not saying that nobody will enjoy this. I'm just saying, like, me, I don't engage with it, so I don't really care. That's all my point. Like, it's fine. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's fine.
Can we actually talk about the diving now then?
I'm sorry. This was a core mechanic that we forgot to mention that was different. That was different from Stardew Valley specifically.
So I guess this is the biggest thing that's different from both Stardew and Animal Crossing, right? So there's things that it takes from both. And this is the one thing that feels unique to it. And before you start going, oh no, but Animal Crossing has diving, it's not the same. It's not the same at all.
It's not.
So my explanation of it before was it's basically just mining but underwater. And that's kind of true, but also kind of not, right? So the way that it works is like you go underwater and you are getting rid of rubbish using the scythe. Basically, like you're mining, but it's rubbish and you're using a scythe, not rocks and using the the pickaxe. So, but I guess it is a whole other place underwater, right? There's a huge map. And it's huge. Not, I wouldn't say too big. I would say big enough that they need a proper map to find your way around there.
The map is fine. I feel like the map is fine.
What map?
For the diving?
What map?
Oh my goodness. It's the same map as it is when you're above ground. So if you were to open up your map in your menu, it would show you the map of the diving area.
What are you talking about?
Did I just blow your mind?
What are you talking
All right,
about?
go dive.
I'm going diving. Give me a minute. Takes time. Takes time to do things. All right, I am underwater. And you're saying I just need to open the map. What?
I have blown your mind.
There's nothing on the map, though. It's just like, I mean, sure, right. It gives you some indication of where you are in this labyrinth, but there's no indication of things that you found and stuff like that.
That's like the only...
where was the initial location? Like, I have no idea where I've been on this map because this is the first time I've opened it.
I think they when you find things, they might reference it later, because I feel like I recall seeing it. Like when you get to, like, there's a bridge area or whatever. And I don't know if this is. I feel like this is going to be a spoiler for you. Should I say it?
Do it, and I don't care. I'll cut it out if it's a spoiler.
You do meet mermaids down there.
Oh no, that's not a spoiler.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Oh, I just wasn't sure. Because I feel like I didn't actually interact with them. Like, they have names until. Yeah. Okay. Then whatever, it's fine.
I mean, it's very clear that there's a whole mermaid story there, right? Like, apart from anything, it's on their roadmap.
And a whole, like, mermaid civilization. Like, I think there's an underwater city that will be able to access it, and I'm so excited.
Yes. I'm looking forward to seeing how that all pans out, but there's not been a huge amount of it so far that I've noticed. But yeah, I have met the initial ones.
Okay.
Yeah, the map needs to be better. Yeah, they also need to tell you that the map exists.
Is a thing.
How did you find that? Did you just randomly open your map to see if there was a map?
And then I was like, this is really nice.
Whatever. Okay. I don't think it's too big, but I will say that it's not easy. It's easy to get lost in there.
Yeah, for sure.
The map will help, I think, now that I know that it exists, but it needs more of an indication as to, you know, where things are on the map.
Yeah,
because it's not a map. It's like, I'm trying to think of
it's a map without a legend.
Yeah, but it's also not really showing any points of interest without a legend, right? It's not even going, there's a thing here, right? Like, it's just going, here is the kind of vague lay of the land.
I feel like we're entering into, like, the phase of, like, philosophy of what is a map.
It's a topographic map. There you go. Is that better?
A little bit.
Which is legitimately a map, right? I'm not saying that a topographic map isn't a map. I'm saying it's not hugely useful to most people. Yeah. For most things. Yeah. Right. If you asked,
I couldn't access it.
If you asked for a map of New York City and you got a topographical map, you would be like, this is useless, right? Yeah. I don't know where anything is on this.
Okay. Valid.
But yeah, knowing about it will certainly help. So I guess it's time to print that out and figure out where I've been. We need. Let me tell you. See the Breath of the Wild hero's journey. Have you seen? So that's like in the DLC on the map. You can see where you've been in your entire journey.
Oh, yes.
That has spoilt so many other games, and I'm like, this needs to be in every game. Like, I need to know where I have been so I can go and figure out where I need to go for other things. Like, Scarlet and Violet needs it. 100% it needs it.
My goodness,
all these open world games need this feature, and if they don't have it, they are not as good as Breath of the Wild, just fundamentally.
Yeah, a huge quality of life upgrade if every open world game had that. I completely agree.
Okay, so yeah, so you've got this whole other map, underworld water, and the idea is you're going around and you're getting rid of the rubbish, and in the rubbish you find these little seed type things that you press, and then they go and like clear a bunch of the pollution away from the coral.
It's like magic coral, or like advanced coral, or whatever they call it.
Yeah, and you get a bunch of stuff in here. You get the kelp for different upgrades, and you get the rubbish for turning into other things, and you find artifacts and all these sorts of things. I think it's fine. Like I don't. So I do have one small issue, and I think it's just a fundamental issue of the fact that they added this and kept mining, and that it just adds another thing to do. I almost would have preferred if they'd replaced mining with this.
I don't, because I don't mind it. It's like, yes, it is another thing to do, and it's like important for upgrading to get your sprinklers, but I don't know. I feel like it's so tied to the culture of Coral Island that I really enjoy the satisfaction of cleaning up the island. Like it's so vital to the story and how and why you're there. I feel like
don't misunderstand me, Bev. I think it works really well for the game. I just think it should have replaced mining rather than added to it.
So I feel like I probably would have felt like something was missing had it not. But I do see your point. I probably would have been happy without having. I could see myself going either way. Like happy that it's in there, and also happy or content with only having diving.
I think the thing is that these games have so much to do as it is, and then we're adding an extra thing on top that functionally does the same thing as mining, right? The point of mining is to get stuff for upgrades, and that's what this does. Now, granted, both diving and mining have a story, and you would need to have some other way to do the giant story. I'm sure they could figure that out.
Yeah.
But it just functionally, they have essentially taken the upgrade path and split it between two different things. And so if you want to do everything, you have to do both of them at the same time. And it just feels like you can't focus on one or the other because of that.
Okay, I hear you. Yeah.
It's not like therefore this is a bad game. Like I don't hate it.
It was a choice, and it was an interesting choice.
It was a choice, and I personally would have preferred a different choice. That's really it. I don't want more things to do in this game. I'd rather they like. I like the idea of it. I think it's interesting and generally a good idea. But I think that the problem is that these games so often add rather than change, and that just leads to games with too much in them.
Well, here's a counterpoint for like I guess I personally don't mind having it in here, as yes, it's another thing that I have to do in order to like upgrade my tools. But once my tools are upgraded, I don't ever have to go back to the mines. Like I'm going to continue diving for trash, for compost, but I don't ever have to go back into the mines unless I want more ore for whatever reason.
Yeah, if you need more ore for more things, right? Like if you buy another cow, you're going to need to have the bronze ore to get your cheese, right? Like that's just like it just works the same way. There's different things that you get, right? It's not, the mine is not a one and done unless you don't need any of the things. If you don't want to do any of the artisan things, then you're probably fine. But we generally focus on one or two things that we're going to like really emphasize. And if your thing is farming, just farming crops, then sure, you probably won't need to go back into the mine because you're just going to want the kelp instead. But if you want to do animals, or you want to do I guess that's it really. Like you're going to need the mine.
Well, like it doesn't even require like that much. Like the quality of life improvement that they added with the like artisan products was that you can like do like multi like loading for the machines. So like you almost
but it still takes a long time though.
It does, but like
if you have 5 cows and you don't have 5 milk machines, right? If you don't have that, sure, you can add 3 of the milks into one machine, but it still takes a day to make a cheese.
So the cheese is very slow.
The next day, your machine is still full, and you now have 8 milks that you need.
I
haven't
to make read into that yet because I only have 2 cows.
that's
I haven't
fine.
read into that issue yet, but I see your point.
That's fine. But it's just different things, right? Like, what do you want to focus on? Whether you're going to have to keep going back to the mine or keep going back to the diving, and that's the thing is. So if you want to do both, you have to do both. So if you want to get a bunch of sprinklers and you want to get a bunch of artisan products, you have to do both of them. And I fundamentally like when games change things, and farming games so often just add more and more and more and more and more, rather than changing and going, what if we rethought how this worked? And the diving just smells of, what if we changed how this worked? And then someone went, oh, but we have to have mining. And you're like, well, but do you have to have it? That's I think the thing is, like, actually, instead of thinking, what can we add on, think what can we change, and that's good. And I think this would have been, if the game didn't have mining, I don't think you'd be like, oh, how dare they not have mining,
because
you'd be like, oh yeah, instead of mining they did the diving, and that's cool. That's a new way of thinking, but that's what we'd be saying in this podcast episode.
I'm sure that's also what we would have complained about not having mining. Knowing us, we would have been like, oh, that's the one thing. I don't know. It would have been brought up. I'm sure one person would have complained.
We would have mentioned it, but I would not have complained about it. I would have been like, oh, it's cool how they've replaced mining with diving. I'm not saying I prefer it to mining. I'm saying I like when games do things differently. And that would have been doing things differently rather than doing more things. Because I do think it's interesting and I do think it's different. But it just feels like all of the upgrades are split between ore and kelp.
Yeah.
And so you are doubling what you need to do every day if you want to get everything. That's my only real complaint. I think, it's fine. The diving is fine. It's fun. It's clearly going to have a vaguely interesting story. We don't know enough. There's not enough of it to know if it's going to be good or not, the story. But it's certainly going to be different. And I will say that the diving is certainly, I like how it's not just do the same area over and over again that mining gives you.
Yeah.
Mining, if you want to keep getting the same ore, you have to keep going in the same place. And it's like, oh, great, this is so boring. Whereas at least with the diving, you're going through a map and you're trying to get from one place to another. Yeah. And if once you've been everywhere, you'll probably need to go back to get more of the stuff. But it's so much bigger that I haven't got to the end, and you have got to the end, but there's more that hasn't been unlocked yet.
Yeah. Seems like a whole lot more.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens. And it was a choice. I personally don't care as much, but yeah, it is adding more things to my to-do list.
I guess maybe we should talk into my big complaint with the game, because it feels like it fits here well.
Okay.
So many things in this game, and you could say this is a positive thing. You could absolutely say this is a positive thing. I don't. So many things are tied together in a way that means that you can't go. So one of the things I really like about Stardew Valley is that if you just want to focus on one thing, you can just focus on one thing. Like we did me and Rochelle did the challenge where we just do the mining and we do nothing else. You can do so much with just mining. You can do so much with just farming. You can't do everything, absolutely. But to progress in anything in this game, you have to do everything, right? So like if you do the diving, for example, it feels quite self-contained until you get to a point where a turtle asks you for a tomato. And you're like, oh okay.
No.
all right. Two things about this. One, it's a bronze tomato, right? So it's not just a tomato. So you actually have to do the work, and which is obviously deliberate. They're deliberately trying to get you to do all of the things in the game, right? Two, I didn't know that it changed based on season. So I was like 5 days away from the end of summer, and I was like, I can't get a tomato. It's too late. I can't grow one in time. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I have to wait to the next summer. And I just went, and I never went diving again until I read on the wiki
that it
changes per season. And I was like, oh,
That would be
okay,
nice
I
to
guess I
know.
can do it then. There was no indication that it was going to change. And I was like, well, what's the point in going down there? I can't go down. I can't get any further. I've gone everywhere. I don't need any more rubbish any more trash at this point. I've got everything I need from that. Why am I going to bother going down there again? So there was no indication that it was different.
Yeah, I think the only reason why I learned about that was because I needed more trash, and that's how I learned. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Exactly. Whereas I wasn't too bothered about using the trash for anything for quite a while, so I just didn't bother going down because I was like, well, I'm still trying to get through the mines and I'm still trying to do this and that, so why would I bother going diving when I don't need trash?
makes sense.
So I then almost straight away got back down because it's actually not that difficult because I'd progressed farming far enough that it wasn't an issue, right? Like I had the second fertilizer that gets you bronze almost straight away. It was a really easy thing to get. And then the third one was a large milk, which I already had like 3 cows that were giving me large milk, so that didn't take long either. Like I was progressing a lot of things at the same time, so it wasn't an issue for me. But what I really like about these sorts of games is when they don't make you do everything to get to progress with something. And it's like in Stardew, really the only thing that you need to do if you want to is the mining. But even that, it's only making things go faster, right? You don't have to go in the mine to farm every crop. You don't have to go in the mine to get married. You don't have to do that, to do this, to do that. It only makes things faster. But you have to farm to get through some of the diving, and you have to mine to do some of the farming. So like a lot of these things, I don't have any other example off the top of my head. The turtle one was the only one that was sticking right in my brain. But it just feels like a lot of the game is tied together so that they want you to do everything at a similar sort of rate.
Yeah.
And that's clearly a choice, right?
Yeah.
That's fine, but it's not my preference.
And I guess I didn't mind it because I kind of enjoyed, like, my ADHD is like, okay, I'm bored of this. I need to do something else. So I personally did not mind having too much or, too many options, because it would be like, okay, I've been diving for a few days now and I'm super bored. I'm going to go forage for, critters today, or, check out the forest.
Clearly ADHD does very different things to us, because I'm going to hyper focus until I'm done on one of those things. So it's like, oh no, I am finishing the mine. I'm not going to do anything. Like, I'll have some crops and I'll water them every day, and I'll have some animals and I'll feed them and harvest them every day. And I'll have some of but once I've decided I am doing the mine, I'm doing the mine. Like, I'm finishing the mine. Like, I think I had gotten to the end of the third mine when I was like midsummer year 1. Like, I got through that so quickly. And then I went on to the diving, and I was like, I am going to get through this. I'm just going to do everything. And that's when I hit that roadblock, and it really, really stuck in my brain as frustrating. But yeah, I mean, it's like, I can't say it's bad, right? It is a choice, as with so many of these things, and it's not my preference. I would prefer being able to do things more independently from each other.
And who knows, maybe one day you will be. I don't know. Not in this game.
I don't think I'm changing.
But I guess that's the beauty with different minds and whatever. Yeah.
So we've talked a bit about some of the stories. So we talked about how there's a mining story with giants. There's a diving story with mermaids. It's kind of an overall story with the harvest goddess and the nations and stuff like that. I think that's all of the like big stories, and then there's just kind of like the people stories, right? Where you get to know them. And we probably wouldn't focus too much on that, even if I had done a lot of it, but I haven't done any of it, and you haven't really done any of it. Is there anything you want to talk about with regards to how they work, I guess, then with the people and I guess the festivals, which I don't know about you. Okay, let's talk about festivals first, because so there's a bunch of them that aren't unlocked yet, which is fine.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, I couldn't hardly find the festivals. It was really hard to find where they were.
Yeah, I had to Google one because it didn't actually tell you in the letter like where to go. And the maps, well, I guess the maps do kind of like outline like, okay, this is the town and this is like the forest or whatever. But yeah, it was a little confusing.
They do. They put it on the map. They put where the location is on the map, but there's so much on the map that it's hard to figure out what it is, and you don't know what icon you're looking for. So you're like, I know it's on the map, but I can't find it. So like, I actually missed the first festival because I couldn't figure out where it was, and the time had run out.
Oh no! See,
I didn't realize it finished at 2, and that was it. Too late. So I think they need to make that a bit better. For one of them, I got a thing that said a letter in the mail that said where it was going to be, but that was only one of them that did that.
Only
so
one.
I don't know whether that's missing and they're just going to add that later on. But I think they need to sort that out.
Agreed. Yeah, it's definitely not very clear. I shouldn't have to go to a wiki article to find out where the festivals are taking place.
Definitely not. If you literally walk around the entire map, you will eventually find it.
Eventually.
Except the New Year's one where you have to actually press A on a table. Like most of them are like, oh, you're entering this area, would you like to start the festival? The New Year's one was like you had to walk up to a table and press A.
Oh, wow. Okay, interesting.
So I definitely had to Google that one. I could not figure out that one. The other thing is the calendar. You can only view the current season. So
can you not do that?
You can't scroll through the seasons to find out when like the next thing's going to be, like what's happening in summer. Don't know. We'll find out in summer, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, Stardew's like that. So I guess that's not a feature that I've ever looked for.
Can you not scroll through the calendar in Stardew?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't. I don't think I ever have. Oh.
I think you can.
Well, wow. Okay.
Because otherwise, how do you know how do you know when someone's birthday is without being in that season?
I go to the wiki. Or it tells you like maybe on their profile page now that they've added that. There's like a little profile page that they have. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure in Stardew you can scroll through the seasons to find out what's coming up. Okay, maybe that's just something I never knew. And I also don't really care as much about the birthdays. I've missed like every village.
Oh, it wasn't
NPCs.
it wasn't the birthdays I cared about. It was about knowing about the fest. When I missed the festival, I was like, right, I should keep on top of this. Then when's the next one? Oh, I don't know. I can't find out without going on the wiki or waiting until summer. What else was there in festivals? They're fine. I feel like they're just kind of. We're just waiting on the rest of them being implemented, right? Like they're kind of fun. The tree planting festival was fun. Have you done the tree planting festival?
Yes. I don't know. I loved all of them so far. Like the tree planting, like the beach cleanup, the tree planting one. I don't know. I feel like it just falls into like the environmentalists like story like niche that they're going for, and I immensely enjoy that storyline. So I felt really good about doing that event. Like it makes a lot of sense for the community to come together and do those things, whereas like like the Stardew ones are just kind of like there sometimes. Like why does this exist?
Yeah, I think what I especially like about it is if you do, I haven't actually done this yet because I've only done 1 year, but like if you go to the tree planting festival the second year, it's progressed and you're doing different things to revitalize this forest, right? So like you actually see the progression of revitalizing the forest. It's not just one and done, oh, it doesn't really matter, and you do the exact same thing next year, which is good fun. I like that.
You've done it, so you can confirm that they do that in the game, or?
I have people on Steam have said that's how it happens.
Okay, good, because I know they talked about it in the game, but I wasn't actually sure if that's something you could actually see.
Yeah, no,
I love that so much. Okay.
I believe when you get to year 4, the tree planting festival's finished because you've revitalized the forest. So I think that's really good. Like I really like the idea of actually progressing things.
Yeah.
Like that, which is fun.
Okay. I love that. Okay, I'm very excited. And that feels like much more of a reason to continue playing the game as opposed to like just doing it to grind out all the Steam achievements or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. People. Do you care about people?
Yes and no. Like a lot of the dialogue is recycled. I feel like not as like there's more dialogue options I think than research story. Like they've done more content development for that, but they're not fully fledged characters yet, I feel like, and it's often confusing to remember the family dynamics, like who's related to who. And I haven't done many cutscenes because it hasn't been a focus for me, was developing the friendship. So I feel like I can't really comment on that yet. But I am excited to get to know each of these characters more because I love the diversity, and I love the design of all these characters. I haven't seen the changes of like clothing yet, like they advertise. So is that coming in the summer?
I have no. So they've definitely done some of them. So I've noticed that when they're on the beach, they change into their beach clothes and stuff like that. I agree with you on I think everything you've said. The designs are great. I think the level of diversity is really good. There's like lots of different both ethnicities and genders and body types that it feels very inclusive, but not, it doesn't like it. And I think this is just a perfect example of how you can do it while it not feeling forced. Like you're not going around going like, oh, why on earth is that person? Like it just feels like a group of people that it just happens to be a diverse place.
Yep.
Which is really good. And I can't remember whether this was an issue. I feel like this was when we initially got the Kickstarter. They had the diversity in terms of like ethnicities and genders and stuff, but they didn't have it in terms of body types. And that was something that we noticed at that point. But they have done that now. Like a lot of the characters are kind of not your like traditional, like skinny people type thing, right? Like there's more variety in that, and they don't, and not just that. There's like there's a bodybuilder, and so like they obviously have a different body type, but like there's loads of variety in that feels really nice. Like I feel like everybody is. I guess the only thing is like they don't really have any physically disabled people that I've noticed. That's the only the only kind of thing that I'm like is clearly missing. Everything else, like I feel like most people are going to feel represented there.
I feel like the men could be a little bit more diverse in terms of body type because there's so many of them that have like abs, like ridiculous abs.
That's true. But there is. It's not. They aren't all. Like there are some. What would be the best wording for this? Larger body types, shall we say? But yeah, like why is the researcher beefy? Good question. I feel like he should maybe be a bit skinnier.
They do live on an island, like a beach island, so it. Maybe.
Yeah, but that doesn't automatically make you ripped.
It doesn't.
You have to still put in the work. And how does a researcher have the time?
I would argue it's not so much like. It's more so the culture of like wanting to have a beach bod, I suppose, as like, I don't know, whatever, like that. You see that a lot in Florida. But 2 points before I forget. Goodness, I think I already forgot them. When I mentioned like I haven't seen the changes in the outfits, I have seen the changes in the beach outfits, but I was under the impression that they had seasonal variety of the like day-to-day clothes that they wore.
I haven't really been paying attention to that, I'll be honest with you.
Okay, because I haven't seen that. I could have sworn I saw that in like an update like post.
Yeah.
Or maybe they were alluding to it that it's going to come out. So maybe in the summer update.
So the summer update has the summer outfit.
Okay. I'm very excited for that.
The fall update has the fall outfit, and the winter update has the winter outfit. So you're going to get. We currently just have the spring and bathing suit outfits for them.
Okay, makes sense. And I guess my other point that I just remembered is that the diversity is also in the families themselves, which I appreciate. It's not just the ethnicities that we're seeing in the races and stuff, but it's also in the family dynamics. Yes. I don't think there's any queer parents, like two dads or two moms that I can recall.
I could not tell you. Because I would have to put in more effort there to actually pay attention.
So that, I wish I would see that. But other than that, like I like
is it
the family.
presumably
dynamic.
you just mean in terms of parents though? They're like,
Yeah, and parents.
I've not paid attention to people's sexual orientations, but I'm pretty sure there are definitely some queer coded people in this game.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the fact that you date anyone it means that it's acceptable and is a part of the society or whatever.
Yes,
there's no homophobia, obviously, but I don't see any of that representation in the NPCs
in the
itself.
families. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. I hadn't noticed that because I've not paid attention to who's who, other than pretty sure there's a set of twins. Because they look almost identical.
They are.
Other
twins.
than that, I haven't paid attention to any other characters and who they are related to. I just I don't care at this point. I will put in that effort at some point, but I'm not putting it in this early on in an early access.
Completely fine. But yeah, those were I think my 2 points that I appreciated.
That's fair. Yep.
For the NPCs.
Yep. No, that's fair. Hopefully we'll have more to discuss about that in a future episode.
I'm sure we will.
Once it hits 1.0. Hopefully I will care about people at some point. No promises.
Will you?
Look, I mean, I got really into some relationships in Stardew, right? Mm-hmm. Like the Linus relationship was incredible. Mm-hmm. I really cared about Leia and Haley. Mm-hmm. I was intrigued by Pam and sad about her. But that's about it. Most of the people I didn't care about. But yeah, I'm looking for someone, right? Like, give me someone to care about. Mm-hmm. But I need to actually put in the effort to like pay attention to the fact that people exist before that happens. It's not all of their fault. It's mostly my fault. And once I actually put in some effort, maybe there was some stuff there.
Mm-hmm. We'll see.
Any other thoughts about mechanics things? I think we've covered the kind of general things. Anything you think we've missed?
No, I feel like we covered like the general the general state of where the game is at currently.
All right, conclude it then. What do you think about this game? Do you recommend it?
Yes. even in this early access game, like I feel like if you enjoyed Stardew, like I almost feel like I don't want to go back to Stardew after seeing this game because I prefer these graphics. There's so many quality of life improvements in here. And I just really love the story and the vibe of this place. So I'm just extremely enjoying it so far. And I haven't delved into it since I put it down. But I will definitely get back into it with the update because I felt like I hit like a point where I did most of the things. And I was entering.
Have you played since this? Have you played since the spring update?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But I am counting down to that summer update.
Definitely. If you definitely wait at this point, it's only a week and a half away. Definitely wait for that.
So yeah, I think I'll put it down for now, so I'm not like getting bored of doing the same thing over without having very clear goals of what I want to do. But I am extremely excited to see what comes next.
Cool. I would say I have enjoyed my time very much. I'm definitely going to close the game and not play it for a while. I suspect I'm not going to play it till the 1.0 update. Okay. I don't think that... So I'm trying to think who should play this game at this point. I think if you like Stardew Valley, right? If you like Stardew Valley and you want something that looks nicer, this is definitely the game for you.
Yes.
But I don't think you should play it yet.
Okay.
Some people will... It's definitely a fun game, but I think that unless you are the most casual of player, you're unlikely to... There's going to be something that frustrates you that isn't available, I think. And if you're the casualist of casual player and you just want something to play a little bit and you don't really care about how quickly you do progression and it's like, it will just happen and you're fine with not getting through everything for the next 2 years, then go for it. Absolutely. This is a good game. This is actively a good game. I trust that this, once it's released, is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Because it is really good quality. It is not buggy. It is not, everything is really well done. I don't want to play it anymore with the missing content.
Yeah. Which makes sense. I would agree with that. I feel like I'm casual player, and my ADHD allows me to do different things and come back to it and still like be happy with it in its current stage and feel comfortable with coming back to it later, knowing that there'll be more to it later.
Awesome. I can't believe, like, it's just as a side note, it's been really fun to like get stuck into a game like that. Like I haven't played 25 hours of a game in a week in a long time.
It might help that I was like obsessed with Stardew coming into this game. Like I had reached,
yes,
I've experienced the 1.5 content finally, and was feeling at a place where like, okay, I'm starting to get a little tired of playing this. I want something new. And then I found this and was like, this is still scratching that Stardew itch, but it's new and it's
different. Yeah.
So
it's kind of making me want to go back to Stardew.
Do it. Go back. We got to do the 1.5 update.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Bev, for joining me.
Yeah,
where can people find you on the internet?
I'm pretty much everywhere at Bev Granger 711. That's BEVGRANGER 711. So feel free to tweet at me. I've been pretty bad at social media lately, but I will try to respond at some point.
No promises. You can find me on Twitter at the ScottBot. Also on mastodon.scott under the same username. You can find the podcast on Twitter at THSPod. We welcome any and all feedback. And sometimes we post things on Twitter. I've not really been doing the retweeting as much just now because, well, Twitter is
Twitter.
Quite something. You can find links to everything and post feedback directly to us from our website, harvestseason.club. Apparently, I failed to mention at the beginning that transcripts are available on the website and in the show notes.
Well, if you made it this far, now you know.
You can also find a link to our Patreon, patreon.com/thspod, where you can support the podcast, get access to the amazing Slack, which is just, there's always something new in it now. Loads of people talking, which is great. And we also do bonus episodes on the podcast at Patreon as well. There's one that's just come out. As we're recording, it came out 15 minutes ago. So I haven't even posted about that yet. And there will be another one coming soon as well. If I get my stuff together, then hopefully in a week, but no promises.
No promises. That's what the episode. That's the title of the episode. Is no promises.
Never any promises. I think that's everything. Thank you, Bev, again for joining me.
Thank you. This was fun. This was good.
Thank you, listeners, for listening. And until next time, have a good harvest.
The Harvest Season is created by Al McKinley, with support from our patrons, including our pro farmers, Kevin and Stuart. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode.
I'm never sure when we cover too much detail in these games, but I know that when we've been podcasting for nearly 2 hours, we were certainly dancing on the line there.